just virtually and see the sun, which is reflecting on my face, and hopefully inspire you. And maybe you'll even take away 3 things to help you feel like you can return to work, whether that's virtually, whether that's actually going in the office, which some of you may eventually do or may be doing very soon. So I'm going to go on. I got the Green Jam Northern Lights going on in the background here, but I'm going to go on and whiz bang make them disappear as if by magic by sharing my screen. Let's hope this works. It did for Terry and I in the literal green room before this. So let's see here. That's oh look, I got lots of human beings there, which is nice. I haven't seen non-blonde people. Sorry to be racist. I haven't seen non-blonde people in 3 months, so it's great, as in people related to me. I'm getting a lot of static noise. I'm wondering if anyone else can hear that. Is anyone else struggling with the noise?
You're all good, John.
Okay, I can hardly hear, so I may have to, okay, it stopped. Wait 1 second. Okay, anyway, this is who I am, and I am so glad to be here and hopefully inspire you. I've got some props here because it is a beer note, which is a keynote with beer because it is past 4 p.m. on lockdown. I'm still on lockdown, so I would encourage you all to find one of these if you're allowed. I'm going to crack open a Frontier to get us started. I used to travel, and I used to travel, as I mentioned on LinkedIn to promote this. I used to travel. I think I've hit 27 countries, and I've got it. I was hoping to get an idea from all 27 countries into this presentation. I failed because I'm going to go deeper on a few, but I will send you the deck of the most innovative, interesting things happening in a post-COVID world by brands. But one of the most interesting things is learning how to open a can of beer. There you go. Cheers, everyone. So let's all start with something really memorable and disgusting. The most exciting company, the most exciting startup that's ever started up in a crisis is the cockroach of the hospitality industry. Feel free to give me drop me a little chat if you work in the hospitality, travel, and leisure industry. Just drop me a I do and give me where. But I'm going to give you. Does anybody know who the cockroach of the travel industry is? Just drop it either. By the way, the rules of this whole thing are: interrupt me at any time, put yourself off mute and shout something if you have a question, because it's you've got a beer in your hand, metaphorically at least. So it's supposed to be an interactive session. So I'll go on and tell you who the cockroach is. A bunch of college kids decided they were going to hijack the Democratic National Convention during a recession and try to get people to stay on their air mattresses. And all the people at the Democratic National Convention in 2008 thought they were idiots. They chose to focus on the thing that you get when you stay in someone's house, which were like exciting breakfasts. Hold on, it's not sharing. Here we go. Is it possible to say for you to be more cockroach? I think that's disgusting. But essentially, this brand, as you're probably already imagining, they started off into the world at the Democratic National Convention thinking we'll celebrate eating breakfast in other people's homes, and so they made Obama O's and Captain McCain's. It was a terrible bomb, and as you I'm sure are aware, a new pun is coming, sorry, but they called themselves Cereal. I'm having a little bit of a delay here. Oh, this is annoying. Okay, I'm gonna have to stop share and start again. Wait 1 second. So hold on. I'm gonna have to. Can you? I'm not sharing screen. I'm gonna have to reshare, and hopefully the sound will pick up. Where were we? There we go. Okay, so the pun here is serial entrepreneur. They called themselves serial entrepreneurs, and everyone hated them, but they kept going. The people at the Democratic National Convention said, "You guys are relentless. I'm sure you'll be successful eventually when we come out of a crisis." Sometimes in a crisis like this, it does take being relentless. These serial entrepreneurs, as you probably could have guessed, were the founders of Airbnb. They did choose the wrong thing to focusing on the serial instead of the home. Yeah, it was a pretty terrible way to start their careers, being called the cockroaches of the travel industry. But they managed to survive that. And again, I am not able to share my screen. This is annoying. Okay, here we go. So wait 1 second. Okay, got it. Sorry, I'm learning how to use a computer after 3 months. So I want us to, after I figure out the tech issues, I want us to try to think of another catchphrase that's going to help us survive, not serial entrepreneur, but one that's going to help us survive the time we're in now, and that is serial joy. I think we're all looking for a little bit of joy. I think we will struggle to go back to the office without thinking, it's been a drudgery. How can you put joy in my life, employer, please, and do it now? Let's start off with the opposite of joy. As we think about going back to the office, this concept, let's go. I did not realize that whenever I go to a new place of employment, someone who hires me for a workshop or like an in-person gig, I'm going to have to go through this. But that is the world we are literally about to enter. And that is, wait for it, a new word, a word I had never heard before until I did my research for this talk for you. That is what we will all go when we go to the MAAG offices, etc. We will all enter through the entrance sluice. Let's take a look. The entrance, no, this is not working. The entrance sluice. Yeah, again, that is, you go in, you're misted with disinfectant, and it all, you begin your life. You not ever be able to take your jacket to your desk, so you can't fake like you're at your desk. Your jacket has to go into an entrance cloakroom because your jacket will have things from the outside world in it. That's just a little bit of something that you may not have thought of yet if you haven't entered a workplace yet. This is the largest real estate company. One of them, next to JLL, is Cushman Wakefield, and they have, for China, they wrote a 3,000-page manual on how to re-enter the office. Fortunately, they cut it down to 30 pages, but it's still quite a hefty chunk. And they've invented this thing called the 6-foot office space, where every desk has these black circles that you see around it. That is the world we're entering. But I want to stop you and think, what is the serial joy way of looking at what Cushman Wakefield has? Is essentially these big black death circles around every desk. It doesn't inspire me. I see one of my colleagues from our co-working spaces. I don't really want Andrew to go back to spaces if they put black death circles around every desk. It doesn't inspire me. What does inspire me is the work of Ingrid Fell, Joyful, and let's apply Ingrid's book to what Cushman Wakefield was trying to do with their 6-foot desk. And that would be, let's take the circle, which is a naturally joyful shape, and let's be like this London designer who created the Here Comes the Sunshine blanket. All of those dogs and humans are socially distanced from each other. My wife has some underlying conditions, so we're having to shield. So if I'm ever going to go back to a park, I will be going with a sunshine blanket if I go back with a non-member of my family. So again, that is more of a serial joy way to social distance. There's more. Obviously this was just her little diagram, and this designer has continued to create lots of more joyful ways to social distance. You've probably seen this. This is one of my favorites. This is the social distancing laser hat, and I've found the best bit of the launch video for you. So as you can see, it puts a circle beside you, and because I'm shielding my wife, I definitely would use something like that. As you can see how the laser works there. You may find these a bit frivolous, and you know what? If we're really going to embrace this serial joy, which is a key component of my constant curiosity platform, which I'm going to try to explain to you in the next 53 minutes, I think we have to start with my first, and maybe even your first, foray into what was coming for us. As you know, the Italians experienced what was coming for us here in the UK. If you're in the UK, the Italians experienced it all first, and so I saw all that. And I was like, we are in for some interesting lockdown times. I hadn't really thought it through, the fact that I wouldn't leave my own house for like 70 days. And I don't think we're as joyful or romantic as the Italians. I think the Americans and the Brits probably have experienced more of this, which you've probably seen. So yeah, more of an F off if you try to sing from your balcony. So again, what I love when I've been searching for ways to find the more constant curiosity approach to balcony living, I had to find myself in Colombia, because Colombia, as we'll talk about in a bit, they just repurposed something they've always had. The national television channel in Colombia have been putting their screens in remote areas all over Colombia. But then they realized everyone's stuck on their balconies. We're just going to take our remote screens and have remote cinemas and rotate them from apartment block to apartment block. So they just repurposed an old idea that went for remote areas and used them in densely populated areas because people couldn't leave their balconies. And I love that kind of thinking. And again, it's just as one of the 8 things 8 points lessons I'm going to drop is the repurposing. So that is just a little teaser there for you. And another thing, because I've been stuck in my home potentially more than some, is IKEA Russia's example of, let's just take all our furniture and household items and find really innovative ways to build wigwams, to build caves, to build forts. And to me, the wow factor on this was me as a guy that I'm creative, and like I think my wife would say, 0% practical. So I don't know how to put anything together from IKEA. We don't have a car, so I've never really even gone there. And it just fills me with fear, trepidation actually, and now all of a sudden IKEA instructions to put the bloody stuff together is actually joyful. It's find a blanket, put your sofa like this, add the paper pins or paper clips or whatever. Another area of concern, as you can see, didn't really scrub up too well for you today. Apologies, but yeah, myself like you, I'm seeing some of your pictures. You guys aren't looking the best, to be fair. Sorry, Rob, but you're just not, because we haven't been able to have a haircut. Well, I love Peach's, the Geldof's daughter. I can't remember which Geldof daughter, but her company Bleach London has been making a lot of this period because they're engaging people digitally, sending out bleaching kits because they are the bleaching kit of the stars. If you Rob wanted to turn what little hair you have into a rainbow, Bleach London are doing that, and they're building digital relationships and posting you the bleaching kits, and they're keeping those relationships going for next week or whenever hair salons are able to open back again. So again, the principles I'm going to take you through, I've divided my 8 lessons into the first area we want to talk about is, let's just think about provocative questions we can ask that help you literally climb into the head of your customer, and all of a sudden you're like thinking more like them and thinking less selfishly about what product you have to flog. So I do toddler sessions for these in my workshops, and a toddler session, as you probably know, is toddlers ask, like on average, the Telegraph said, about 73 questions a day. I think it's actually much more if you count up all the whys, but we come up with 73 questions that the customer or audience would ask about your bleaching product or whatever, or your hair salon. And then we apply imagination to the best of those questions, test them out. Think about which ones really meet the needs of the people you're trying to reach the most, applying empathy to it, and then just go and test things out. That's the process I've used in all of my workshops, and I'm going to take you through. And I have a couple of lessons, and I'd love, of the 8, I'd love for you to be able to like tell your flatmate or better half at least 3 of them tonight, unless you've had too much to drink. So again, let's go through questions, imagination, empathy, and testing. So first, we got to start with some data, because numbers mean something to some folks that try to pay me money. So again, what have companies been doing already? Well, this survey from a company called Clutch, they have already told me that less than half the respondents to this massive survey they did are actually hosting online events, and 35% of the people surveyed, their companies, which are probably a lot bigger than TBC Global, as I just work for myself, their companies are doing nothing. Companies make an effort to connect with people during doing these activities. Professional development sessions, I think we can count MAAG, Pimento, and the Network One. We can count, believe it or not, this session as professional development. Happy hours, this actually, oh gosh, cool, 19 plus 23 plus 13. Yeah, we're covering 2 of these on one. Damn, I didn't even think of that. Activities or games, I got some of those included in this, and we're not going to be eating. But anyway, I can't really imagine eating with my coworkers personally. That's not something I do. But again, that's the data. That's what people are doing. I also want to talk to you about scavenger hunts. Companies are doing scavenger hunts in your house. I've done these scavenger hunts with my kids, and I've tried to do them with people I've spoken to for the few times I've been let out. But again, that can be a really interesting way, a scavenger hunt in your home, and then give Amazon vouchers away as prizes. I've heard of a lot of companies doing that. We Transfer have a virtual bar, and it reminds me a lot of that old thing. We used to put clients on this thing called Second Life, which some of you may be too young to remember, but yeah, the way We Transfer is a virtual bar where you can just hang out and run into people, is a lot like Second Life. So those are just some of the things that companies are already doing, and maybe when you have to go back to an office.
John, I think you've gone on mute. Can anyone else hear John? Yeah, take off your, disconnect your headphones. There we go.
Okay, I'm gonna not do the headphones. Can people hear me?
Perfect.
Thumbs up. Okay, good. I will continue. Let's get back to sharing. You are screen sharing now. Okay, good. I wonder how much, I'm not sure if you heard this. A thumb up from anyone if they heard me talk about this slide. Yep, good. All right, I'm moving on. Thank you. Again, time and resources we've got a lot more time to think, not as many resources, but it's the creative confidence. And I'm hoping the lessons the 8 lessons I'm going to be unpacking, I'm hoping they will drop a few little thoughts into your brain that you can work with. The first one I want to talk about is just straight off the bat. Some of you work in sectors where this isn't happening. This is travel, this is sport, wherever. We have to totally reinvent ourselves. So let's just go on and get that out there. I led or emceed a webinar about a month ago with a lady from HubSpot, and she has done the research on the industries that are in survival mode. Travel, event industry, bricks and mortar, restaurants, they're in, oh my God, what do we do? These are the people that I've been trying to come up with ideas for, because they're like, we just can't function. Technology, software consulting, they're in more of an adapt mode. Some of the ideas I'm going to show you are more about being in the adapt mode. And finally, you know, I've just for the first time spent a ton of money I probably don't have on eBay. So e-commerce is in e-learning, gaming, fitness. My gym in the Ealing Broadway is just done online classes, which I've been doing, Zumba classes, etc. So again, these types in the third category are thriving. So I'm hoping to cover ideas for both the all 3 survive, adapt, and thrive buckets. So again, let's get some out there. As far as the adapting to survive, this is yeah, again, the idea I spoke about, that it fits definitely into the adapt bucket. The idea about the drive-in balcony cinema, and again, I put this in here as a little warning to those of you, and there are examples out there that are absolutely shocking, but there's nothing more shocking than a brand going so far where it beggars belief. Like, why the hell would Colgate, the company known for oral hygiene, ever delve into the world of frozen Italian delicacies? But this literally happened. This wasn't in COVID times. I put this in here as a little warning. This is from the Museum of Failure in Sweden. And again, another one from the Museum of Failure. Harley Davidson should probably stay in its lane and not produce hot road men's fragrance. There are brands that are going way far out, and we're going to give you loads of examples, but usually they have something to do with the realm of what's believable for their customers, unlike toothpaste brands making lasagna. So hopefully the clients you work for, you won't make any sort of Colgate lasagna mistakes, because that is actually too far, and that will land you in the failure museum. Again, restaurants, this is a simple idea I like. I found it about a month ago, and it was just the Japanese, in the early days when we'd run out of hand gel, the Japanese restaurant supply company realized that no one is going to be using their soy sauce. So they just decided, hey, what the heck, we're just going to fill up that with hand gel. And they just started distributing these fish-shaped hand gels. And again, a little adapt to survive thing, because no one was going to their Japanese restaurants. This is about a month ago, so definitely there was not even open for takeaway then. And again, when you approach it with imagination, I love thinking what I call Sharknado thinking in my workshops, because nothing's too far if you think that a junior producer in Hollywood suggested a film idea of sharks, tornadoes full of sharks, and it's now on its 6th rendition. So again, I actually think COVID-19 times, right here, right now, it is time for us to have Sharknado thinking and go far. If you go into the Colgate lasagna area, we'll let you know, but you do have to go far. I'd rather you go far and then have us bring you back. And the other thing, because my thing is constant curiosity, and I have data to prove this, is especially in these times, I think we need something to hold on to, something to jolt us out of this drudgery of, oh my God, I'm a primary school teacher and a marketer, I'm a this and a that. It's just the multitasking is doing my head in, but we need to be able to create a fun zone. And these are going to have to be created at your place of business as well as in your homes. A couple of examples that I've loved finding is a church. No one was going to churches in America when I found this photo about a month ago. And the church decided, well, if your kids are driving you totally crazy, why don't you get in the car, it'll all be social distance, and come through our drive-through. And they put 80 bubble blowers, 40 on each side. So you went into a bubble tunnel. And again, a little simple thing, but like, what is your bubble tunnel idea? Another client of mine is a pharmaceutical one, and they're having to redesign their office. And I don't think their office has any sort of ideas that are bubble tunnel-esque. But when people do go back to their office, for this pharmaceutical company, that they're going to need something that appeals to their sense of fun and humanity. Like this guy who basically just commandeered his sidewalk, his pavement out in front of his house, and put in every hour, he put a new dad joke. So he just entertained people as they walked by. What is your, how can you grab people when they first come into your physical office, or even in the first few minutes of your endless not another Zoom call? Could that first moment be not can you hear me, after you've established that they can hear you? How can you really go for the jugular with something fun that makes people think that you actually care about them? Because in this time, you're going to actually have to care about your employees. Other little fun ideas, the family that again, they just went out to the car parked in front of their house and put on puppet shows for passersby at a social distance, of course. And then again, this is another thing that it's one of the things that have gotten me through my almost 70 plus days of not leaving the house in our back garden. And that's learning a new platform. I've actually loved being able to get onto TikTok. I've done my fair share. I feel like one of my main talents right now is cleaning. I believe I'm the chief bleaching officer of my home, and I'm better at cleaning and bleaching things than I've ever been in my life. And TikTok brought me a little bit of relief from my massive daily bleaching sessions. And again, I can actually create the sun with my hair. Again, like if we were backlit, Terry wanted my light to be on my face, but if we were backlit, I could literally create a sun with my hair. It's so long. But then what about people on TikTok? They're doing crazy things like bowl cuts. Oh my freaking goodness. This guy in the middle asked for a Ronaldo cut, and his dad gave him a fat Ronaldo. I'm not being fattest, but that's literally what people call him, fat Ronaldo. And then there's Cristiano Ronaldo. And he gave him the wrong Ronaldo cut, which I thought was brilliant. And a little dye job gone wrong there. So again, have some fun. I know that is kind of becoming a cliche for your Zoom calls, is talking about hair and blah, blah, but we're all human. And if you can come up with a fun angle, to talking about things and being a bit more vulnerable, and the other thing I hate to say, Zoom are not paying me to say this, fortunately, because I'm about to stomp on them, but I really want to escape Zoom and try something new. And I pitched this to a friend, and he actually was already doing something amazing with a new technology that I would like for at least one person on this call to try. This is one of my heroes. Let's just go on and watch him.
Where's my map? There's no map. It's just green. No, there's a map there. Look at the monitor. Right? Oh, God. Ron, where's my legs? Where are my legs? Your legs are there. I don't have any legs, Ron. I don't even know how I'm standing up. No.
I literally fall at the feet, literally, of Anchorman. And I as a keynote speaker and now virtual guy, I want to find my way of being like if I could like control the GREENJAM, Green Northern Lights with my hands, it would be amazing. But I found a way to do it, and I'd love for one of you to try it. And it is called Prezi Video. And as you can see, you have these overlays, and you can just control them like a weatherman. Prezi existed. I first got my Prezi account, Prezi, in 2013 when I was working at Edelman. I remember exactly making them pay for it, which is brilliant. And it is now, as of December 2019, they have one of the best, most interesting graphic overlay video tools. So I'm gonna, even when I do Zoom calls, I'm still gonna say, and this is a little Blue Peter-esque, like, this is a little something I made earlier, and show them a film I've made with the graphic overlays. I actually think we're going to have to start finding new ways to engage people, whether you're doing coffees. There's another thing I've heard called coffee hours, where you just go on a Zoom call with no agenda and you just work away, and people just randomly chat. You don't have to say anything if you don't want to, but it's just like you're in the office. There's a Swedish company that are even doing soundtracks on Spotify for office noises, just to kind of replicate that. I think that's a little gimmicky, no offense, Swedes. And then again, my one sort of political statement, apologies, but fail fast and move on. If you tell people to maybe inhale some bleach or whatever, just kind of move on from that, apologize and move on. Just like one of my clients' competitors, as you can see on the 24th of March, with the whole world in lockdown, their social media was on autopilot, and they told people to enjoy spring break. Again, this happens all the time. As you know, my first book was on sort of social media. It included a lot of timely, what I call newsjacking social media. And we mentioned a lot of these. So these kinds of mistakes of tone deaf fails, sometimes scheduling issues, are still happening in 2020. And then again, we had to find a way to engage our audience, and they had just invented the whole go out and bang your pots and pans on a Thursday night at 8 thing. So we were able to find ways to thank the NHS, because that's what everyone was thinking. It has nothing to do with our product, but again, it was a way to engage people, and hopefully not make the mistakes of that our competitor made on the same day. Again, repurposing old stuff and reviving your brand now. This excites me because I want to send this to all my clients in Lithuania. I spoke there when my book had come out and talked about Twitter, and then afterwards found out that only one person was on Twitter. Well, they may not be on those sorts of social channels, but they're coming up with great ways to engage people. This is the capital of Lithuania, Vilnius, their international airport. They knew nothing was going on. They partnered with the nation's international film festival, and just had people, did a drive-in cinema where people were coming to the airport, and they showed a film from a different continent every time they showed a film. It's from a different continent to try to keep the travel theme. This is a way of having loads of questions. Okay, we're the airport, we're shut down. How do we apply imagination to those questions? How do we use empathy to make sure it really reaches the right people? And people at that moment were wanting to get out of their house, were wanting to be safe. These cars are socially distanced, as you can see, but they wanted a new novel experience, and it is about providing experiences for your clients. And this, one of my favorite examples is from Lithuania. I had mentioned this on LinkedIn. I'll just mention it here and at the end, but I have found about 20, I found loads of these examples, but I found 27 from 27 different countries I've spoken in, and I will send you the PDF if you connect me on LinkedIn, because there's some really imaginative things that I think will help you be more constantly curious with whatever endeavor. Even if you're going to stay at home and work from home for the foreseeable, you're still going to need to find new ways to spark this serial joy in your approach. I work in sports, so I was delighted to find out that my favorite sports brand, who I spend a lot of money with in this country, Fanatics, their US factories, said, whoa, whoa, no one's buying jerseys. Our season is permanently suspended and may not ever come back. So they used the baseball material and made gowns and masks. And I know you know tons of examples of people doing that. And I let these ideas, I love the repurposing aspect of helping people who need it most in these times. Now this, oh man, talk about experience. Sorry if I get a little emotional here. This will definitely show my Americanness. So try to imagine a British version or Dutch version, or wherever you're from, of this. But the Pensacola Wahoos have this beautiful stadium by the water. And guess what? Minor League Baseball may not come back ever, because Major League Baseball takes all the money and minor league is just what pumps them the players. So this is a real issue. So what do you think they did? Well, this excites me to no end, because in 3 years' time, I'm going to reveal my age, but I turn 50 and I may want to go back to America for my 50th, or at least have a couple of celebrations around Europe coming your way, Rob, in Amsterdam. But I love the fact that for $1,500, I could rent the entire park on, wait for it, Airbnb. And that is full use of the batting cages, locker rooms, loads of hotel suites, all the people to make me corn dogs, which is like deep breaded sort of corn on top of a hot dog on a stick. It's my favorite ever thing in the history of the world. This is just an experience, and it's a repurposing. Someone had a little session saying, we ain't gonna make any money here in Pensacola, and we might bloody well shut down. How do we get our fans together? And I've got hundreds of sports ideas, because it's one of the areas I work in, of this exact thing. And that gives me chills just thinking about being able to go on a baseball pitch, and just try to apply that to whatever you're most passionate about. And obviously, since we're drinking, hopefully some of you are drinking beer, I have not had a poured pint of the lovely golden stuff since, wait for it, March the 15th. I wish Forest Road Brewery was not in West London, was in Ealing, where I live. It's in like the cool area of London, like Shoreditchy kind of way, Forest Road probably. But this used to be illegal, by the way. So governments are being relaxed on the rules to give people some what I call serial joy. The mobile pint, the pint mobile, if you will, is going around. All you have to do is go on your app, order, all of them are £5 a pint, and they will go and deliver you your pint. And obviously he's got the gloves and the mask and everything. I know I might be over the top in the best way, but and the worst, but this brings me so much joy. I wish my local, which is literally 100 meters that way, would just come by and give me a pint. I mean, I've had hundreds of pints in that pub, and crickets. Have heard nothing from my local, because everyone needs to be more Forest Road. Again, if you do something like this, you could actually spark a movement. So I'd love for you to think about this, because I love the fact that one brewer in East London did this, but people in the country that has one of my favorite countries to speak in, for obvious reasons, is the Czech Republic. They worship beer, and particularly Pilsner, and they have created a movement where none of their 398 small breweries are going to die. How many? I'm sorry, repeat that, John. Okay, sorry. 0, nada, nil. None of their small breweries are going to die, because they've created a movement. It even has its own Instagram channel, has this lovely logo with the life raft and the beer, because in real time, you can find out what brewer needs you the most and is the closest to you, because their beer, wait for it, is going off in a week's time, and you get beer delivered to you of the beer that needs it most, because you don't want beer to go off. And they've created a movement all over the Czech Republic, not just in Prague, where a lot of you have had hen parties and stags, I think, or maybe I'm revealing my age there. And again, whoa, I gotta stop and breathe here. Because using technology, I work in innovation and things, so using technology in clever ways in new, unexpected places is another thing that just blows my mind. I really, I wish I knew a lot more about robotics. I don't. My friends at the Innovation Social go to this show called CES in Las Vegas, Consumer Electronics, as you may know it, and come back with all kinds of ideas. Robotic pets are a big thing, but in New York, the Society for the Aging has basically partnered with a robotics firm, and they're delivering thousands of robotic pets to people in need. And again, this is a repurposing idea. Yes, it's using tech, but it applies one of my other lessons of repurposing, because they've always done this. They've always done it for people with dementia. But now they're doing it for everyone, because there's a lot of people that are not just the elderly, but there are a lot of elderly people that could use a robotic pet. My parents are in Memphis, Tennessee, not really seeing much. And when they get a bit older, I would love to be able to have the opportunity to just go on the site and have a robotic pet. And again, they've had really amazing, in the test, they had 70% of the people that got either a cat or a dog, that's what they make, experience a lot fewer sort of negative feelings of isolation and depression because of these robotic pets. Freaking love that. Again, revealing my 100% total obsession. I would love for all of you, if we could all gather, and let's say let's go in a flight of fancy. Let's say we were all Wolverhampton Wanderers fans, because I am, and we kick off on the 20th of June, and I want to be in Molyneux Stadium in Wolverhampton, and I would love for there to be Zoom screens, thousands of them, maybe even 30,000, since that's how many the thing seats, 30,000 Zoom screens. And so where we could all watch the game in real time. This is happening. This happened on a smaller level in Denmark. I even had some guys on LinkedIn today sort of confess that it was their idea, and they're loving the PR that a like really small Danish team got for being the first to do this last Thursday. So again, using tech that we're using in our front rooms or our closets, wherever, but using it out in the world for the things that we love the most. That is constant curiosity. That's asking a question, a provocative one, coming up with an imaginative solution, and sports fans would love it. And it's already been tested out by a team in Denmark, so you could go do it if you worked in sport. But this is personal. I'm sorry, but I'm getting personal. I only literally have 14 minutes left with you, and you have been kind enough to stay on, some of you. And I really have struggled personally with energy levels because I love people and I love going out, and I love drinking beer and making friends, and I love my family too, by the way. But that's all I've seen for 100 days. I need for all of us, if you get to go out of lockdown sooner than me, I need you to think what has helped you cope. What is your special energy zone? For me, I'm just going to go on and admit it. I have a scooter. It's like an adult scooter. Don't act like I'm a teenager. This is like properly for adults. And I drive this everywhere. And, I've been working at a friend's house because my wife needed me to leave. I've been scooting there and scooting back without running into anyone. This is where I get my joy and my energy. What gives you joy and energy that you could apply to your work? Here, let me just give you, this is my SEZ, my scooter exhilaration zone. So I want you to apply this thinking to your work life or even your personal life. I go from Hanger Lane Station in the morning when I used to go to gigs. sorry, I go downhill to Ealing Broadway, and then I arrive at night at Hanger Lane. And again, it's a double downhill. I never have to go uphill with the scooter. And I just go, I act like I'm a downhill skier, like doing moguls and everything. It brings me like insane amounts of joy. And you may have some special energy zone. Yours says is a special energy zone. And again, you may be, my friend Will Cook is like Mr. Outdoorsy, like proper hipster beard and like outdoor equipment and everything. He like would love this scene. This is like where he wants to go, like a rope swing over a mountain lake. That's like his zone. That emotion, we need to be able to bring that into our workplace. And I think Zoom call after Zoom call after Zoom call, without even checking in with the humanity of what people are struggling with, and how's the homeschooling going? Like, can we take people to their special energy place? I don't want this to be too cheesy and warm and fuzzy, but I do think there are ways to recreate this without having to go to the mountain lake. Again, just looking at these photos makes me wish I could escape my house, but maybe in the meantime, maybe you can find ways to do that metaphorically, or maybe you can be like these German designers, because they have created a socially distanced playground, and this thrills me to no end. I love taking my 9-year-old and playing football and doing obstacle courses. And I think kids are I still want kids to be able to be kids. I still want adults to be able to be kids. I genuinely want adult action to still happen. And I love the fact that we can still do this. We're just going to socially distance. Could you apply this to Cushman and Wakefield? It was Cushman and Wakefield, Netherlands. I wanted to go on and slam my Dutch Amsterdam-based friend Rob, because the Netherlands are doing these Black Death circles when they could be doing joyful circles around the office and circular breakout rooms and everything socially distanced. And did you know, just on an aside, you know how you walk into a grocery store on one side and you have to go out on the other? Offices are now having to work on that principle as well. You come in one way and go out. Yes, it's not just, there's an entrance and an exit now to every office. I had not even thought of that. Lots of changes. This is a socially distanced fun idea. I want to be able to even have this, bring this to your place of business, and have some fun with the higher ups in the highest paid people in the room, the hippos, and introduce the dunk tank into British culture. I freaking love this concept, and it's completely socially distanced. As you know, maybe you don't know this, maybe it doesn't happen at fates, school fates here, but you hit the thing and it goes down. I love sport, that brings me joy. How can we, again, is there a metaphor for the dunk tank in post-COVID society? I think there is. I think there's ways where we can be real and have some fun at other people's expense. I really want to take the piss out of my coworkers again. I'm desperate for that, not just in the pub, to their faces one day. And I think you can find new ways to do that, because we need that transparency and that vulnerability. I genuinely do think that. And in the last 9 minutes you're going to give me, I want to test. I want you to realize this is frivolous, but I have seen it, and I'm weak, but I know that some ideas out there, just simply testing them, going through the constant curiosity formula and testing them with animals, will bring a lot of people joy. I know I'm shoehorning that in there, but it's a bonus lesson, so sue me. And again, I love the fact that I showed my wife this picture, and she just loved the fact that the designer who is there on your left, she took her dog out for, I don't technically think you have to be socially distanced from your dog, but I just think it's fun. And my wife instantly latched onto this idea because of the dog. That's it. Nothing deep. Sorry, nothing deep there. And again, if in this COVID time, there's a lot of dogs not being, not rented, what do? Adopt them. Then turn your dog orphanage into the Griffin, the houses of Harry Potter, and some dogs act more like Gryffindor, some act more like Slytherin, etc. It's a great little repurpose to try to bring happiness to people. I mean, I'm going to have to get a dog now. My family are so sick of being with just me that when we move house soon, we're going to have to go on and get a dog. And I would love to get a Gryffindor and not a Slytherin, because those, I was going to say those bitches would be evil, but anyway, you get it. And again, this is something that Pet Orlando has already done. So in summary, because you have literally only given me 8 minutes left, if you're going to apply all of those lessons, which I'm going to recap for you at the end, don't freaking worry. The e-marketer have already said, and yes, you'll see this is in 2018. So I want to update this for 2020, COVID-19. And I really think some of these still apply. But when a load of people are asking, what is the most crucial soft skill? Again, leadership abilities, you understand that. Emotional intelligence, totally. But the things that I built my workshops around, it's going to be very obvious here. And in a longer session, we could be more interactive and have you yell out rude things to me. But yeah, again, creativity and curiosity. When people were asked, so I have focused on the orange because that's just my area. But I genuinely think curiosity and creativity are even more important. That guy Winston Churchill, what the famous quote that you've heard people mention on average 100 times, where you could even literally have a drinking game with it, but don't waste a good crisis without coming up with great ideas. That's a terrible paraphrase. But yeah, there's nothing like a good crisis to get people using their creativity, using their curiosity, and of course, using their leadership abilities. It may be that it is your job to come up with the ideas to create the new culture, or create all the creative ideas for clients, tell their brand stories. And again, it's going to have to start with emotional intelligence, because you're going to have to think, people aren't going to want to be sold to. I need to ask everyone in my company, are you ready to come back to work? Because the reality is most people aren't. If they're not ready, then they shouldn't be forced to. This is the only way to win, is to start with emotional intelligence, but think about what they've been up to in their 100 days of lockdown, and how can you apply this constant curiosity. Maybe even have a session with all of your employees one by one on a Zoom thing like this, and ask if you're going to come back even 2 days a week. A mate of mine, Trevor, is going to go back to his ad agency 2 days a week in July. I'd love for the founders of this ad agency to ask him and go through all of these areas. Like, what do you want to lead? I've already seen that you've had stuff taken away because we've had some juniors working on your accounts because we couldn't afford you. How do you feel about that? Just really properly being able to exhibit these skills. Again, creativity, leadership, curiosity, and emotional intelligence. And I do think, it sounds selfish, but I do think you're going to have to start with what you're good at. I'm definitely good at certain things of speaking and terrible at others. Embrace your strengths, but also find that weird. And that weird may be the thing that helps people survive when you return to work. And again, once you've sorted out your own weirdness and your own A game, the thing that you bring with your own particular angle that no one else can bring, then really, I think you're going to have to embrace the people you work with and find out, how are you going to come back, and how can we use curiosity? How can I ask more questions? How can we do this together and be more empathetic internally with office culture, as well as externally in dealing with our clients who have less money and less time, but we are here for the creative confidence to give them. It goes back to the diagram that I started with. And again, so to recap, you start with, it ain't the February you ain't gonna work. You've got to reinvent the June you, and you're gonna have to find ways to adapt with your clients, whatever sector they're in, especially if they're in that those sectors like the restaurant trade, the bricks and mortar, where they're just surviving. I do genuinely think fun has got to be at the top of your list. If TikTok makes you cringe, go with the cringe, look into it. You don't have to post, but please just waste an hour every Thursday night, and it will bring you joy. It will bring you joy. And then you can let the younger people in the office, if you want to, actually make the content. But you really should see how people are finding joy with TikTok. If you actually are a speakery person or have to be the leader and have to be seen on Zoom, then you should look into Prezi Video. You should just test stuff. You know, start with the questions, apply imagination, go to the empathy side, see if it really holds with your customer, and then test it and move on. Fail, move on. Repurpose old stuff. Be clever with technology, which just excites me to no end. And crucially, because I've been nattering on for 58 minutes, you've got to find something that brings you energy and see if you can adapt that to your office environment or your personal, your moonlighting thing or whatever. What gives me great joy is on a freaking Tuesday drinking beer with people. I'm having a green room session with my mate Rob from Amsterdam afterwards. But you know, one day with MAAG or the Network One or Pimento, I'd love to be able to chat with all of you and answer all of your questions. Typical me. We have literally 2 minutes left. So again, I would love to connect with you on LinkedIn if literally one interesting thing. If one interesting thing happened to invade your multitasking brain as your kids were bothering you or whatever you were doing, then let's try to connect on LinkedIn. I will send you the full 27 card deck with the 27 countries. I'm really digging into the why is this idea a constant curiosity idea? What is the wow factor? You know, just like the IKEA Russia thing, which was about instructions. The wow factor there was IKEA instructions suck, and now they're fun and fill me with joy. So it's a total role reversal. I want you to have that kind of effect on your work environments, on your home environments, on your office culture environments if you have to go back to an office. I am out of breath and I've literally barely had enough of my beer. Terry, we literally have 1 minute. Should we field one question or people may just want to go and drink and try to recover from whatever the hell just happened?
Does anyone have any questions? You can unmute yourself. Go for it, no problem. Anyone? No. Oh, I think we can wrap it up there. It was pretty damn entertaining, I'll tell you that. And thank you so much, John.
Brilliant. No, thank you.
Yeah, for, you know, sort of coming back from all the issues around COVID and yeah, giving us your first session. So that's amazing. So
thank you for allowing me to come out, Terry. And I want to start doing a lot more of the webinars that you guys have been putting out there. And yeah, I'd be interesting to see if you guys do a survey of how many of your members are going back to the office. My friend that I'm talking to tonight is only going back a couple of days a week. So I think there are some plans afoot with various places of employment of the small and independent ad agency variety. So yeah, it's a fascinating subject, and I just want to learn more.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that actually, because last Friday on our Wind Down Friday sessions that we have every 2 p.m. We actually spoke about that, and some of the agencies had actually opened. But obviously that had to go to their staff and actually survey them and see, you know, if they were actually happy to come in, because everyone's got, you know, different situations at home. But that actually leads in lovely into this Friday, Wind Down Friday, where we've got Shanice Mears. I don't know if you guys know about this, but she actually created a response to the open letter that Adlan sort of sent out there. They were showing solidarity for the death of George Floyd. And basically, she was not too impressed by it. And she wrote this article on LinkedIn, and that was picked up by a campaign. So we're going to be discussing that letter and the issues around that and why she was not impressed by that open letter. And it's not just a webinar, guys. This is a discussion. You can come in, debate, and we would love to see you all there. So I'm actually going to drop a link in the chat for you guys. And you guys can register now. But this is going to be a big one. And yeah, we're looking forward to it. So join the MAAG. on Friday at 2 p.m. for Wind Down Friday.
Amazing. Terry, that sounds great. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone, for hanging on, those that hung out on. I do see human beings now, so that's good. I'm going to go enjoy the Northern Lights and have a beer with my mate Rob from Amsterdam. So thanks, guys, and have a good Tuesday. Cheers.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sweet dreams. Thanks a lot.
I'm seeing people. Oh, look, Will Cook was there. I'm seeing people disappear. Some of my people were there, and I didn't even bother to look. Cool. Wonderful, Terry. That was great. Thank you so much.
It was good, wasn't it? You enjoyed it?
Oh, absolutely, man. Yeah, no, I just had a few little tech issues for the first time ever with my little earbuds, you know, my little headphone things.
Yeah. So basically, when you have your headphones in.
Oh, how long I was on mute?
I know, it was only like a few seconds. Don't worry about it. No problem.
You caught it quickly. Brilliant. Because I just when there's little tech issues, it's just the bane of my existence because I'm supposed to be a pro at this, but you know, sometimes they happen and you can't control them. So,
exactly.
Brilliant.
Everyone's just still leaving.
Oh, cool. Oh, Aaron Gorley was here. Man, Clive, nice. Yeah, no, I when I get into flow, I wasn't even able to see the names of people, so I'll have to. Is it?
Clive's still there, but he's probably doing something else.
No, yeah. I'm here.
Busted you right there.
Yeah. No, don't worry.
Oh, look at your office.
Don't worry, John. I got the enthusiasm.